Hello, Agile friends. Welcome to Product Owner Summit 2024. My name is Svetlana, and I'm hosting this session with our amazing speaker, Cliff Hazell. Cliff has worked as coaches leader at Spotify and has a lot of experience on how to help scale-ups remove their growth pains and enable them to keep focus on right actions. In this session, Cliff will talk us about how we unintentionally ignore our user needs. Welcome, Cliff.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me, Svetlana.
And for our audience, reminder, there are also other sessions in the Product Owner Summit 2024 that touch on this topic. Don't miss those. For example, Raphael Branger will have a session regarding gathering user requirements. You can check out other sessions at productownersummit.org. But now it is time to focus on our guest speaker, Cliff, and his topic. So, Cliff, please introduce briefly yourself to the audience.
Cool. So my name is Cliff. I grew up in South Africa, in Cape Town. I spent a lot of time working in product management. And about 10 years ago or so, I moved from South Africa all the way across to Sweden to join Spotify. Some of you may have heard of this company before. As you said, I spent about 5 years working with this company. And about 5 years ago, when I left the company, I started my own company, helping scale-ups deal with the challenges of growing and figuring out how to find useful ways to get people to collaborate and do cool things together. So yeah, that's the experience that I'm going to draw on for the talk today. And yeah, looking forward to chatting with you about this.
Great, thank you. Can you introduce us why you choose this topic for the session today?
Well, actually, you helped me choose this topic. So it was a conversation that started out of a post that I made on LinkedIn, which was, why do we rarely put humans at the center of our experiences that we design? And I think this topic has resonated with quite a few people. I've talked about it in a couple of different ways. And I thought, yeah, it could be interesting to have some conversation around this and see maybe a little bit of why is it that we tend to ignore other people when we're building products, services, and designing changes within our organization.
So thank you. So topic title is how we unintentionally ignore our user needs. So maybe one provocative question. So how can we successfully ignore our user needs? What are the main reasons to the narrow defaults or pitfalls of product creation approaches?
Yeah, I think that a lot of companies and a lot of leaders are very, very good at doing this. In fact, you see it on a normal basis. Anything from a product launch that is done without any user input or feedback through to a reorg that is done internally in the company, a promotion or hiring is done without consulting anyone else within the organization. The challenge for me with this is that what we end up doing as a result is basically solving only the problems that the manager can see. And because the manager is only one person and they only have one view of the world, they tend to only see a very, very small slice of the problem. And so, yeah, we miss out on opportunities, not just on, solving the wrong problems, perhaps. And I would add that I don't think that it's that the management perspective is wrong or useless. It's just incomplete. It's not the full picture. And so I think in many cases, it's a good idea that we start talking to some other people and involving them in everything from how do we improve the process by which we build the products, the ideas about the actual products that we build, as well as, to some extent, who's involved in the team, what direction are things moving in, what improvements can we make, all of this kind of stuff. So yeah, that's how I think about it.
Do you have some good example from your experience, like life case, when it's impacted?
There was a story that I heard during my time at Spotify. I don't know all of the inner workings and the details, but it was a story that was told quite often. Was, for example, in Sweden, many of you who've used the Spotify app, you know that the interface is black. It's very dark color. And this makes sense when you're in an environment where you're mostly indoors or under unnatural lighting, as in, no sunlight. However, there was some feedback that came from users in countries like Mexico who were saying, hey, we're outside all the time. The sun is shining really brightly. If the screen is dark, it's actually really hard to see what is even going on the screen. A better interface for that kind of a situation is actually to lighten it and make it a bit brighter because it stands out better from a user experience perspective. Now, unless you've been to Mexico or you've lived in a country with a lot of light, for those of you who live in sort of the Scandinavian regions or certainly in the north of Europe, there's not so much light, especially around in winter. And so, we wouldn't have had that perspective. We wouldn't have realized that that was an important thing. But users would probably buy the product less as a result of not being able to actually use the interface, which I think is quite a cool example.
Yeah, great example. Thank you, Cliff. But from your experience, how do you see leaders, all kinds of leaders, could improve their strategies, to have more user-centric solutions, to keep in mind user needs, and maybe even how to involve more stakeholders in the process? So,
I think there's a lot of layers to this challenge, and I've spent some time trying to sort of unpack them a little bit. But I think often what happens is that as leaders, the assumption is that we are the deciders and that we need to be confident about the decisions that we make. The challenge with this is that if you're confident, you tend not to look for other options or for feedback or input.